What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of the Light of Darkness podcast. I'm your host with the most, Derrick Garza, known as the Darkness, something like that.
Yeah.
Today, I have award-winning actor, producer, director, star of many things, but latest thing, From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Well, I was going to say the character name.
And
then
you
I was
can do it again.
And then I was, no, let's just, okay, let's start it over.
No, you can.
From Dusk Till Dawn, he played Freddie Gonzalez. My good friend, Jesse Garcia.
What's
up, my friends? Say hello to everybody in Darkness Land.
Hi, everyone in Darkness Land.
Hello, everybody. Hi. So, I wanted to get Jesse on here because I think he's got an interesting story to tell. And really wanted to kind of get a little bit of a backstory to how you came up, how you came into your craft, and etc. Moving forward with everything. Mm-hmm. So welcome.
Hi, thanks.
Let's get a little background of Jesse Garcia. Let's get the little Jesse Garcia story going.
The story? Should I be like 1 through 4 and go from birth?
Yeah, tell me your birth story.
My birth story?
Tell me your birth story. Just give me a quick birth story.
Quick birth story? Okay, I was born in Rawlins, Wyoming.
Rawlins,
Wyoming. My mom and I were actually born in the same hospital. Grew up most of my life in a small town called Hannah, which is about like 700 or 800 people. Old coal mining town. And I've moved around a lot since I was a kid. So I've lived in Laramie and Rawlins and Hannah and Fort Collins. And,
this was in Wyoming, you said?
Yeah. Fort Collins is in Colorado, but most of my life was in Wyoming. So that's from birth until like the end of high school.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a very
cool story.
Yeah, great story.
Cool story.
Man.
Yeah, you said fast.
That was fast.
All right.
That was fast. So give me a little bit about, I guess, how you were brought up. What brought you to the point where you decided, hey, I want to get into doing some sort of acting? Man, we might have skipped a bunch right there.
We did?
I don't know.
I mean, we can go back and dive into like a middle school moment.
Well, I actually met you at the gym that I work at, and mostly because you came in because you had done some wrestling before. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, grappling did fall, jiu-jitsu, wrestling fall under the same umbrella of grappling. So you came and you had that idea and didn't know that you were an actor until you had been there for a while. Yeah. But you came and you wanted to wrestle, man. So, I guess we can get into a little bit of what got you into high school wrestling. Mm-hmm. We did that competitively, or?
Yeah. Well, my parents didn't let me do any kind of sports until like 8th grade, I think.
Were they just strict, or?
Yeah, they're just strict. They didn't want me to get hurt and
mess up the moneymaker.
I guess I was just a little fat kid. Like I ate everything I wanted, anything they could put in front of me. Ice cream for breakfast.
Sounds good.
Oh, it was amazing, but I was fat.
Like legitimately fat?
Like legit fat.
Like you weren't husky, you were fat.
Yeah, a little bit past husky. Until like I don't want to take my shirt off in front of the other kids.
You were the kid that went swimming with your shirt on?
I didn't do that. I didn't do that, but I was close.
I envy those people.
Yeah,
they always look stylish. Just like,
yeah, man.
You go in the outfit and you commit wherever you're going to be, dry, eating hot dogs, in the water, you're going to wear your shirt.
We're going to wear your shirt.
Yeah.
It's not even a rash guard. It's like a...
Well, rash guards back then, you're not much younger than I am. Maybe.
No, not much.
Not much. So rash guards weren't a thing as much, I think,
no.
Unless you were like a surfer.
Yeah.
But obviously, you were not a surfer.
I've surfed. I'm like...
As a kid?
As a kid, no. So they let me join wrestling in 8th grade, and I started leaning out really quickly. And I had a lot of fun with it. Of course, it's hard as hell.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I got him to let me join football until my sophomore year, but I did. In high school, I did football, wrestling, track. Only reason I really went out for track was to hang out with girls.
That's a good motivation.
And I hated it. I hated running. I tried every event: shot put, discus, pole vaulting, which I busted my ass hard. It's like got stalled out right at the top, and like I
just let go.
I didn't even let go. I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to let go, and I fell right on my back. It was awesome. But so in high school, senior year high school, our football coach took us to a University of Wyoming football game, and right before the season started, in high school I was a lineman. I was like a 155-pound lineman.
So you had the small kids. Well,
No.
at that point, that's big, right?
We had like a so it was like there's 4 divisions of Wyoming, so I think we were Division 3 or something like that, which is like the 3rd biggest. So we weren't a small high school, but we weren't a big high school either. My town was 7,000 people.
Okay.
Rawlins, Wyoming.
Was there multiple high schools?
No, there was
just
only one. High school. Yeah.
So everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. Yeah, like in the small towns like that, like there's a saying, like, you don't lose your boyfriend or girlfriend, you lose your turn.
I've never heard this before. Well, I'm not from a small-ish
Yeah.
city, but not a small town.
Yeah, so you don't. Yeah, it's because everyone ends up dating
everybody else.
Like, you're not dating so and so anymore.
That sounds like modern gyms,
right? Yeah,
it can be kind of is.
Basically.
I've somebody's actually kind of commented before. It might have been my girlfriend. She would have been like, just upon joining the gym and kind of understanding that like people have dated before, she's like, this is like an incestuous.
Very.
I was like, I hadn't thought of it like that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So small towns is akin to incestuous gyms.
Yeah.
Go on.
Anyway, small towns. So they took us to a football game, and sounds better, right? That's not so tinny. Yeah, add some bass in that.
I like it.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like that.
Yeah.
You got the crazy eyes going.
Darkness. Took us to a game, and then we saw the cheerleaders warming up right before.
Shout out Brian Bell.
And after I listened to the podcast, I'm like, "Yo, Brian, I used to be a cheerleader too." Right?
Did you really?
Yeah.
We can get into that.
Okay, we're going into it.
Okay.
So we saw the cheerleaders warming up, and they did the stunt called a chair, which is where they would hold the girl by the butt, right, and they're sitting in their hand. I'm like, "Yo, I could do that." And the cheerleader, I'm just, yeah.
Check out this hand.
And the cheerleading coach goes, they get scholarships for that. It's like, get out of here. She goes, yeah, every one of these guys has a scholarship of some sort. I'm like, well, that's dope. I said, maybe I should quit football and wrestling and be a cheerleader. Of course I didn't. So finished the football year. Always joked that I was going to quit the football squad. Football team.
Jesse Garcia.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, getting comfortable.
Yeah. And that me joking like that throughout high school into the wrestling season. It's like, I'm going to quit because, I want to hang out with cheerleaders, and just always mostly joking around. But we went to a wrestling tournament, a wrestling meet in Torrington, Wyoming, and the cheerleading coach, gosh, I can't remember her name right now. The high school cheerleading coach, she told the community college cheerleading coach to come meet me at the meet. And Cheryl Raboyne, who coached at Eastern Wyoming College, she came and said hello to me. It's like, hi, hello. I'd love to chat with you. It's like, I'm going to concentrate on my match right now, which I probably lost.
Were you good?
I was decent.
Good wrestler?
I didn't care enough. That's what my thing was. Like, at wrestling, I was decent at it.
You cared enough to join, but not like to take it.
There was like
one step extra.
Yeah, I didn't have. I don't think I just didn't have the champion mentality. You know what I mean? Like I was pretty good, and I gave everyone a hard time. You know what I mean? But I just don't think I cared enough about.
I can relate to that.
That's the one thing. That's the one regret out of high school is I wish I would have just pushed myself a little bit harder because it's fucking hard.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's really hard. And it's one-on-one. It's like you against that other person.
It's an interesting contrast because like a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, they're kind of lazy. Like not that they don't work hard in the way that they hone their craft, but like we're not really starting standing up all the time. We're not trying to fight for head control, look for the takedowns over and over. And wrestlers just come, so when somebody comes into the gym and they're a wrestler, like
me,
the guy's just like, fuck, this guy's going 100. He's going 100. I'm chilling on like 40. I'm chilling. And you just see a difference in mentality, but I mean, it's great. Yeah. It's great. I really appreciate the wrestling work ethic, and always kind of try to give a little bit more to leaning toward that as far as like the teaching and the learning, just because like it always brings it. Yeah. It always has its presence, But most places very chill. You know, jiu-jitsu,
And
it's going to be the laid back.
That's one of the things, we're going off a little bit, but it's fine. It's one of the things I learned about when I first started doing jiu-jitsu. It was about 2 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I've injured so much that like I'm so intermittent coming to class. Although one of the things I've learned is to kind of calm down and not have
to breathe,
but not to go. I don't need to go so hard. I don't need to be. That's the one thing about wrestling. The differences between wrestling and jiu-jitsu is that wrestling, you're hustling and you're going hard and you're trying to maintain position and
you're going ham.
You're going crazy.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu, that doesn't work for you all the time. You know what I mean? It can.
Absolutely. But to approach it in that with the mindset like that sometimes is just counterproductive.
And I kind of like, I wish now, it's like, you know, the older you get, you wish you know things when you were a kid that you know now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Such as life. Yeah.
Such as life. But if I had some sort of jiu-jitsu background when I was wrestling in high school, I think it would have changed the game. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't lazy by any means, and I was pretty strong. And I dieted way too much in high school. That's one of the things I regret doing too.
Cutting weight, you mean?
Cutting weight. Yeah. I cut weight way too much. Like I think sophomore and junior year, I was cutting 35 pounds.
And at a sophomore and junior level?
Yeah.
35 pounds.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's a lot.
I cut a lot.
So that's actually, pro fighters sometimes cut that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was down, I think my lowest weight, if you can imagine, I'm probably 175, 180, I don't know. I literally haven't stepped on the scale in probably 17 years. But I was down to 127, I think was my lowest.
That is,
it's little.
There's been several fighters that walk around at like 205 that cut down to 35. I'm sorry, not 35, 55.
It's crazy.
And I think like one of the guys from American Top Team, I don't know if he's active now. He might be still, but he was cutting 30 pounds and the 2 weeks leading up to his fight. 30 pounds. It's insane.
It's too much, man. For me, I feel like if I'd have known, or some of the knowledge of nutrition and stuff like that would have been available to me when I was that age, mm-hmm. I don't think it would have ruined my metabolism as much as I feel like it has.
You think it did?
I think it did. I feel like my metabolism is fairly slow. I don't feel like I also feel like because of the way I ate when I was a kid, it's like nobody's fault. It's just how you were brought up and how, what was available.
Right.
That I ate a ton of sugar. I ate tons of overdoing fats. You know what I mean? And I think it mostly more than anything was the sugar. It was the candies, the Snickers every day. It was like ice cream and cookies for breakfast.
In school, they kind of skim over the pyramid, the food pyramid, mm-hmm. but it really is abstract. They have it like it's almost like a motivational poster that they just have in like a science room. Like you don't really get into like, when they say dairy, just okay, anything made out of milk, but they don't actually tell you, or you're not really taught the effects of those things. Whether you're drinking milk, whole milk, or whatever, mm-hmm. and so it's not too far fetched that you come up and you don't know what it is that you're doing with your body. You just throw in whatever you need to eat, and so you're just eating whatever, and like I said, like what's available to you.
Right. Well, I mean, like highly processed food is super cheap. You know what
Absolutely,
I mean? Yeah. When you grow up with not a lot of money and you find hormel chili for sale, which is like 500 calories a can or something like that. And
the sodium
is crazy too.
700 milligrams.
Like some of those things now I can, like my diet. So I'm not super duper strict, but I'm very specific with what I eat and what I don't eat. Like I don't do dairy for the most part. Occasionally I'll do butter, but if it's got to be a good butter. I don't do meats except for fish, like non-overfished fish. No soy, very little gluten if I can afford it. Is
it more for like environmental, or is it also
a little bit of everything? Because I want to know where my food's coming from. You know what I mean? And I used to be more militant about it, and I used to be kind of more vocal about it when I was a little bit younger, and I was learning more, very kind of being more aware about nutrition when I was mm-hmm. younger. But now it's like I will kind of do my own thing, and if other people want to ask me about it, I'll talk to them about it. But before it's like, you know where your food comes from, you know what happened.
Kind of like on the soapbox, if you will. I think that turns some people off. Like even if people are interested, anytime you kind of point fingers in such a way where you're trying to get people to understand, just that approach mm-hmm. will turn people off. You know, but there may be a valid point on the other end of it. It's just like it's being delivered.
I think I would probably do it sometimes just to fuck with people or like to challenge people, and you see something that's just shock value. You know what I mean? Like we're getting way off topic, but
no, it's good. We're coming back to it. Trust me.
But I feel like even like when you talk about the food pyramid, I think it shows that the food pyramid, the foundation for your diet should not be carbohydrates like that. You know what I mean? Like that food pyramid was made up from the agriculture department of the United States.
But like going back to that just a little bit, what I meant by it being abstract is the average person. Just if you said this is a carbohydrate, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it kind of, you had to really, really ask the questions if you wanted to know. But, a lot of people, even grown-ups,
mm-hmm.
are like, well, what I'm eating, what category does it fall under?
Sure.
So it's just, now we have, there's a lot of information out there,
mm-hmm.
and it's at your fingertips, but sometimes you don't even know the questions to ask.
But also too is like, these things have to be easy for people. Like
mm-hmm.
not a lot of people like don't have time or don't want to cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It takes effort.
And it takes effort and time to research how to eat and where your food comes from and the chemicals they put into it as pesticides and non-chemical pesticides. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of different. It's a lot of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, it's something like I've always been passionate about it. Like even when I was super young and I knew that I was overweight and I wanted to get in shape. And I would do my push-ups and I'd do my sit-ups, but I would still have a Snickers before bed. You know what I mean? So I didn't really know
I'm guilty of having some ice cream sometimes.
It's okay, and it's fine. And everything in moderation, and everyone knows what their body can handle and can't. And everyone is, happy or not with the way they look or the way they feel. Me, I'm kind of like I go back and forth, and I always have my own body issues, but I want to. I want to live healthy. I want to be able to wake up in the morning and knowing that my body feels good. You know what I mean? Despite injuries and despite illnesses or whatever. Speaking of that, whenever anyone asks me, like, okay, so we're so all over the place, but
we have a structure. It's happening. It's happening.
It's coming back.
This is for y'all.
People say that, all right, cool. So like you buy all these organic foods and everything's so expensive. And I go, but tell me this, how many times a year do you go to the doctor because you're sick? And some of them will say like, 2 or 3. Some will say more than that. And I go, I virtually never go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you pay for in doctor and medical bills and pharmaceuticals, I spend on food. And that's how I enjoy myself. So I don't need, very rarely do I need like antibiotics or any kind of these other things because I take care of myself on a foundation level.
You have the overall idea of what's going to be more damaging.
Sure.
And what's going to be a rebuilding.
And I can always improve. I'm still always looking for ways to improve and finding different nutritionists to help me out because I feel like I can lean out more and I feel like I'm working too hard to do certain, like to be lean and eat right.
Definitely. I mean, I look at pictures of myself like 4 or 5 years ago and I
know.
have abs.
I know.
Like, damn.
I know.
Why can't I take shirtless pictures anymore?
I know.
Well, I don't want to.
I know. Well, and there's like being an actor too. Is like there's so much pressure to be lean and your image. It's such.
You've definitely mentioned before, like during rolling, like I can't eat this or I got to drop 10 pounds or like don't fuck with the moneymaker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm shooting today. Don't.
Yeah. I mean, this has definitely been something that you've said. So I mean, on top of the nutritional stuff, like also your profession,
right?
Will kind of navigate that.
Oh, and there's certain times where I'll go hard and I don't care if I get fucked up in the face or whatever. And
you fucked up in the face, son.
Hey, son. But it's you have to be. That's my profession. That's what I do for a living. You know what I mean? And not that I'm the most handsome dude in the world.
You're handsome.
Thanks, bud.
You're beautiful no matter what they say.
Oh, you.
so let's
go back.
Yeah, let's come back just a little bit.
Okay, let's go back.
So sports. Did you get into acting around that time?
Okay, so the cheerleading stuff leads into that.
Okay.
So I get done with that wrestling meet in Torrington, and I go back and I call Cheryl Raboyne and I say,
her name is again
Cheryl Raboyne.
Okay.
At Eastern Wyoming College. And I said, yeah, I'd love to come meet with you guys. Let's try to wait till the wrestling season's over, and I'll come out and try out for the squad. I'm like, why not? So wrestling season's over. I drive to Torrington, Wyoming, which I think is like 3.5 hours or so from Rawlins, Wyoming, which is where I went to high school.
You were how old at this time?
17, 18.
Baby.
I just ate. Yeah,
baby.
just baby
Still
boy.
baby.
So I went and hung out in Torrington for a couple days. I think it was probably a weekend or something like that. And I tried out for the squad and hung out with the other cheerleaders and kind of looked around the school a little bit. And at the end of I think we did a couple stunts, and because of football and wrestling, I was pretty strong. They go, well, we have a scholarship available, and if you're willing to, if you want to come to Eastern Wyoming College and join,
just like that.
I'm like,
I didn't even send some paperwork.
I know, right?
Cool.
I'm like, all right, cool. That works.
Yeah, you can give me free money. That's okay.
That was literally the only college I went and looked at.
I mean,
my senior year.
They looked at you.
Yeah, right.
They recruited you.
And a funny thing is, like during graduation, they would call our names because our school was small. So it was like, I think we actually had a pretty big graduating class. I think like 250 or something like that. They would call our names to get our diploma, and they'd say whoever got scholarships to wherever and where. And then they go, Jesse Garcia, cheerleading scholarship to Eastern Wyoming College. Everyone lost their shit. Like, my friends are like, how'd you get him to say that? I was like, because I got it.
Because that's what it was.
Because I got a cheerleading.
That's what I did.
So I ended up going to Eastern Wyoming College for 2 years and joined the cheerleading squad.
Under like general studies, or like was it?
I was a computer science major.
Interesting.
Because I thought, all right, cool. Like,
the wave of the future.
I know, right?
The wave of the future.
I know, right? And I go, well, I thought maybe there'd be good, decent money in it, and I was thinking money. You know what I mean? Did my computer science class. I fucking hated it.
You hated computers?
Well, I love computers, but the coding I just wasn't good at.
Yeah. That's how I feel with basic addition.
I'm great with math.
Not me.
I'm a fucking mathematician. I actually, when I see things, I see math.
You're like Neo.
Like Neo. Yeah. Hey.
Integers.
Red, blue, green, blue. What was it? Blue, red, blue, red, blue.
Red pill.
Red. I said red, blue. I was trying to say them both.
You
red
did
pill,
say that.
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah.
Or is it green pill?
No. Red and blue.
Red and blue.
Red and blue. Crips and Bloods.
Crips and Bloods. So I did 2 years at Eastern Wyoming College, and then I tried out for a bunch of different squads at the end because it's just a junior college, so I was only there for 2 years.
Was it a bigger school or kind of small? Or?
It was a pretty small school. I mean, it was still fun though. Like they had a rodeo team and they had football, wrestling.
Rodeo.
Football. Yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
Interesting.
Very, very much a cowboy town.
Okay.
So much fun. Partied my ass off. It was great.
College days. Glory days.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's where I met my buddy Dave Diamano, who him and I are super into cars and into Porsches.
Inside joke.
Inside
information,
yeah.
Not a joke.
If anybody wants a class at Porsche,
holla
at your boy.
Holla at him. I don't have a Porsche.
And I actually made the squad in several different schools. I actually made the squad in Hawaii. And but the scholarship wasn't that great.
You went and tried out for?
I sent a tape in, so I sent in an audition tape with a bunch of different stunts that I could do.
There we go.
Yeah,
the beginnings
of auditioning.
The beginnings that you didn't even know. Or maybe you did. Maybe you didn't.
I didn't really know. So it was funny because in high school I actually auditioned for one play and I didn't know what I was doing, and everyone else would be kind of being dicks to me, like not really showing me the ropes. And like, well, read this thing, and I went up and started reading. It was terrible. And of course I didn't get it.
Well, you didn't know yet.
I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing.
You can't be held accountable for what you don't know.
No, and maybe I wasn't the right type, or who would? No, I was a terrible actor. Ended up going to University of Nebraska, and spent a year there. And at the end of my school year there, I met a girl named Jennifer Jurasic, and she was one of my classes, and we were talking about what we wanted to do for a living. I'm like, I was exercise science major at the time, so I was hopefully be a trainer for sports teams or something like that.
Was this like a burning desire for you?
It's just stuff I'm good at. Yeah. It's just stuff I'm good at, and it's stuff I really like, and I still really enjoy it. Nutrition and kind of injuries and like body work and training.
So being an athlete really kind of resonated with you.
Yeah. And it still very much does, you know. And I still find myself occasionally coaching people here and there. You know what I mean? I was a personal trainer for a very, very long time after I left college. So I ran into Jennifer on campus, and I asked her about this actor model search thing she did in Chicago. And she goes, well, I met this guy named Judson Vaughn from, he teaches these classes in Atlanta, Georgia called What Films. And there you learn to write, direct, produce, act.
He owns this. This is his school?
This is his school. He's an actor. He's like a really fucking great actor. He's been in a ton of movies. He did, oh my gosh. One of his movies that I remember specifically is California with Brad Pitt. He played
it's a cult classic now.
Yeah. He played
it's kind of a weird movie.
Yeah, I think his role was like some schmarmy lawyer guy. And
it's very much like Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it was very cool. But he was so good at him, man. He's such a great actor. And I asked her, so what'd you think? She goes, I mean, I loved it. And I met this guy, and he invited me to come down there and to take acting classes. I said, wow, that's great. Congratulations. And she goes, you should come with me. And I said, what?
And you guys are not super close, or are you?
Oh, we not really. I mean, we just met and we kind of just started hanging out. But that was it. You know what I mean? I hadn't really known her that long. And how we'd gotten on it, because why she invited me, because we had a previous conversation saying that what we wanted to do with our lives.
I'm changing it up just a little bit. I'm always here.
Yeah.
I want to see.
You should be facing.
I want to see just a little bit.
Good. Mm-hmm. And
evolving.
Episode 5.
Evolve.
She said, she goes, I want to be an actor model. I was like, oh, it'd be fun. It's like, but for me, it's like, I'm a kid from Wyoming.
I'm a cheerleader.
I'm cheerleading.
That's what I do.
And acting, I always thought, oh, it'd be cool to do play, but it didn't really fit into his time scheduling because of cheerleading and all my other responsibilities. And it wasn't something I wanted to do. You know, it wasn't something I dreamed.
Just wasn't innately there.
No. Well, I mean, to perform, I guess, has always kind of been there because I show out a little bit, but more then than I do now. I kind of hide in the corner. Right. I kind of hide in the corner now. This brought to you by. It didn't. I can't say it because
it's not the
energy drink. Green energy drink.
Generic energy drink. It's good.
Yeah. That's a horse sound, I think. Well, okay, I guess bulls make that sound too.
Scoff.
So she's telling me about this school she wants to go to, and she goes, you should come with me. I was like, what? Nah. And in my head, I'm thinking, one, I don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
Two,
I mean, there's a lot of faith to put into somebody.
Yeah. And I'm like, two, I don't know you. And 3, I have a full ride cheerleading scholarship, and I'm actually making a profit going to college.
So to go to this school, would you have had to give up the scholarship? Like, stop going to school?
Well, I mean, at Nebraska, yeah, because I'd be moving to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So I would lose. I'd give up my cheerleading scholarship.
And you were in what year? Year 3?
I was in my 3rd year.
Okay.
But I had failed a couple of my classes, and I'd changed majors like 4 times. So like I was.
So you weren't really. You were committed. You were just staying the course.
Honestly, I probably only really went to school and did these things because I had a great scholarship, and there's nothing I was at an exercise science major at the time, and I that's the stuff I was passionate about, is that working out. But the one thing I regret about college is not doing the art classes, like painting or photography or pottery, which is something
just whatever the creative endeavors.
I didn't feed that. I always did the classes that I thought I needed to do to get my degree. You know what I mean? It's just something.
They are called basics for a reason.
Yeah. But at the times, like you really don't know what you want to do when you're 17, 18, 19, 20. You don't want getting in your 30s. Most of the time, you don't know what you want to do.
That's the with the way that the system is. Pretty much, it's a one size fit all.
Yeah.
And so I can see how if more there was pushed where people could do crafts. Become craftsmen, trades. Things might be a little different as far as like keeping people enrolled. You know, but it's pretty much just like this is the general studies. Everybody goes through at the same same time, same whatever. So yeah, I can see how that would be frustrating.
And I just didn't really care about any of my classes. You know what I mean? And I'm really good at math, and I did really well at the math classes. The reading stuff, I like to read, but it was just a lot of material. I'm like, I don't really feel like doing all that. You know what I mean? But when I had I'll go back to her inviting me. I told her no, that I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to come with her. And then I decided, because I saw flyers and all over town, and this is in Lincoln, Nebraska, that they had an actor model search. America, what was it? America something, I don't know. America National.
Was it a nationally?
It was like some. I mean, I guess some people are discovered, but 99% of the people who go to these things just really
keeping the company going.
Keeping the company going. Yeah, it's like everyone's excited to be a model, but most people just don't have the look, or you know what I mean. But I went to one of these things, and for some reason, it gave me the bug to want to try acting, and I'm like. And I never really had it before. I never really had the bug to do acting. And I called her up and I said, "Hey, tell me more about this guy." And she goes, "Actually, I've been talking to him about you."
And she was like really on the Jesse Garcia train.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And we were just friends.
I'm not implying.
No. I understand.
Maybe you're charismatic.
Something, or just traps. Ugh.
That's what it is against people.
So she goes, "I've been talking to him about you," and I go, "Well, about what?" She goes, "Well, this young Latino guy, decent looking, you know what I mean?"
I don't want to give you too much credit.
We're decent looking,
got a big head about it,
in shape, and he wants to talk to you. And from a producer's standpoint, like there wasn't a whole lot of Latinos, and you didn't see a lot on TV and movies. So he was like, "Yeah, of course, I'd love to talk to him." And he didn't really have any in class either.
And I think if you made it as a Latino actor, you were the one. Like we had like back in the day, like Edward James Olmos, Lou Diamond Phillips, like those guys still in the game.
Yeah,
because like they got in early, and they had a niche.
Yeah.
I mean, plus they're super talented.
And they're some of the groundbreakers, the people who open the doors. You know what I mean? And it's really cool because I've gotten to work with a lot of those guys, like some of those guys that were my heroes, or just I recognized and I thought, wow, I see me on screen. You know. I got to work with Edward James Olmos on a movie called Walkout, an HBO movie called Walkout, about the 1962 high school walkouts in East LA. And it was a period piece, and my hair was super short from after I did research for a movie called Quinceanera. So they had to fit me with a wig.
We'll get with that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So they had to fit me with a wig, which is like a $5,000 or $7,000 wig. So they had. It's
a real deal.
It's a real deal. Like they were committed to having me on, and I tried so hard. Like I did.
Try to be more Mexican?
No. So
grow the mustache out.
I know. That was like one of the first years I grew up. I didn't know I could grow facial hair until like 2005.
I still don't.
Well, I can barely. This is like a month and a half.
Patchy.
This is like a month and a half of growing. I grow on this side. And
I don't grow here and here. No. It's okay.
Yeah, well, I grow one patch right here and then nothing over here.
I'll never have a closed circuit goatee.
No.
Just put it.
I think they're kind of ugly anyway.
Well,
I mean, Tony Stark can pull one off, but
Tony Stark, he's got the goatee.
Yeah,
people are loving it.
But it's like heavily manicured.
Yes, I don't like that look. No, it's not for me.
No. But you're also not a billionaire.
But I'm also not Tony Stark or Robert Downey. So
yeah, who's also awesome. I'll tell you about him.
Oh yeah.
But for the movie I did with Edward James Olmos, I'll go back to my other story too. So that I originally auditioned for that movie when it first came around. Probably 2005, I think. No. It was in 2004. The first round of it was 2004, and I really wanted the movie because I read about the story, and I didn't really know about my Mexican culture, about anything about the Mexican culture growing up, because I grew up in a small town in Wyoming, and it's just not something my parents taught me or that was part of my environment. You know what I mean? So I was learning about the 1968 high school.
You didn't know what you didn't know.
I didn't know what I didn't know.
Can't be blamed for that.
And now I kind of know. I'm still learning.
Growing. Always growing.
Always. So I read the script and I was like, I auditioned for the part and I really wanted the part. But I didn't hear anything from it. So like after you don't hear anything from it relatively soon, sometimes you don't get it.
You just like forget about it.
Yeah.
Move on to the next thing.
Well, I've trained myself to forget about these things because if you start thinking about them too much, and
that's essentially like meeting a girl you really like. And then, a week goes by and then you don't hear it. You just got to let it go.
Yeah.
Not that I go through that anymore, but I did. I was young at one point.
Yeah.
I got called back sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a callback.
It's a callback. The movie came around again like a year later. And I said, was the same movie? And they're like, yeah. It's like, what happened? It's like, I don't know. Like, it fell apart, and then now it's back. But Edward James Olmos is directing it. It's like, oh.
He wasn't directing it?
He wasn't directing it originally. And I think I'm not sure if they changed casting directors, too. I don't remember. But the movie came back around, and I went in to read for it. And for one specific part, I didn't get the part that I wanted, or I originally read for, because, anyway, I read for this, one of the students. And I had a shaved head at the time, and the casting director was like, I don't know, you seem kind of like you might be a little bit too old for this. Like, trust me, it's like, this is gonna work. So I went back home. I said, I'm gonna.
This is you telling the.
I'm telling the casting directors, like, trust me, this is gonna work. I'm gonna send you.
Jedi mind tricked us.
Well, this is something I wanted. You know what I mean? And one of the things I could tell, as long as you're not an asshole, you can get away with a lot in a casting room. With confidence, you know what I mean? As long as
owning it,
owning the room, and kind of owning what you want, owning what your job is. Because if you count yourself out of the job, or you're okay with losing the job, then you're never gonna get the job.
If you come in as a professional, then that's what you are.
Yeah, but you have to also be confident in like taking a really big risk. You know what I mean? So I told him, it's like, I'm gonna. Chadwick Struck was one of my buddies. Now he was one of the casting directors on this movie. I said, watch, just give me the weekend. So I went out and I bought the costume. It's like I went and bought an old army jacket and got the right pants.
This is before you're like.
This is before I even had the role.
Before anything. Before like a big break.
Yeah, before a big break. So my movie.
College kids.
This is in 2004. I think this is in 2000. No, this is in 2005. Like, I had just finished shooting Quinceanera.
Okay.
So nothing had come out yet.
Okay. What I was saying was that at this point, you want it so bad, you're going out of pocket trying to make this happen.
Which I think most people should do. They should be able to. They should dress the part this way, because sometimes, to be honest, like casting directors and producers and sometimes directors too don't have, unless they see you. They're not the artist, part,
if you will.
Well, they can be, but they want to give them. You don't want to give them a chance to say no. It's just a sales pitch.
Seal the deal.
It's just selling. It's a part of selling. You're literally selling yourself every time you go into a room, and you don't want to give them any reason to say no. So if you go and dress the part, they don't have to imagine what you look like.
You are that.
So that gets rid of one thing that they have to do. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So if you go in there looking the part, then they're to go, oh, okay, he's a lawyer. He's a brown beret.
You're making it easy for them.
Making it easy for them, so they don't have to imagine anything. They were brown berets, so that they were. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting everything.
What's
now.
A brown beret?
Brown beret is like a revolutionist. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like in the Latin movement, and they kind of still exist, but not to the extent that they did in the 1960s and 70s. But they had a beret, like a brown beret.
It's a Mexican version of the Black Panthers.
Kind of, yeah. So I went and I got all the stuff, and then the girl I was dating at the time, she was a teacher. I had access to one of the schools, and I set up the camera in a classroom, and I had her read the other lines for me while I was, in a classroom. So I basically made a short film, which is what I do now anytime I'm doing for my self-tapes.
You had already been taking the classes, so this is something that you learned to do, the process?
Yeah, well, there's no one else. I don't feel like no one else was going to go through to that kind of procedure to get the part. And they had already basically told me that you're not right for this. So I made a self-tape in the environment, basically shot a short film of me doing the audition, and sent the tape in, and I got a call back right away. And they said, hey, Edward James Olmos wants to meet with you to audition for this part. We're going to give you a different role to read for, because you are a little bit a little bit older than they think you need to be for the students. And it didn't really matter, because everyone.
What's your reaction when you hear Edward James Olmos wants me to
well, the callback is just another step into hopefully getting the job. You know what I mean? That's when you know that you're doing the right thing, and you kind of go in there and do that, but see if you can do it a little bit better. So I went in. It was hot as balls that day. It was like in the middle of the summer.
This is in California.
This is California. And I'm wearing this.
Now that you live in Texas, can you be like, that was a hot as balls day?
It was very hot, because I was wearing an old Vietnam army jacket, and like the pants, and like military pants.
Yeah.
So I was wearing this shit, and it was still hot. I mean, it's not Texas hot, but it was
hot.
But it was hot. It was hot enough. And my friends they don't always give me shit, but every time they see me and I go and dress the part, they're like, oh shit, he wore the cowboy hat. Like he's gonna get it.
Trademark, signature look.
Yeah,
signature
it is now. And
we should have worn it today.
I know we could
have worn it today.
You know what? I think they donated all of our costumes for the show, so I can't. That's the one thing I really wanted was my cowboy hat.
Well, now you got to go buy your own.
I know. I was actually thinking about that the other day too. I'm friends with the guy who made the hats.
There you go. Get that Jesse Garcia signature cowboy hat.
Yeah, the Freddie Gonzalez cowboy hat. So I did the callback with Edward James Olmos, and after I did my read, and I read for 3 different parts I think that day, and they all could have been right for me. And after I did it, and Eddie's
whoa,
we call him.
You want to drop names like that, but
Eddie.
Me and Ed.
Yeah. What was what everyone called him? Yeah. He goes, "You're gonna love this script."
Yeah. No, you already do.
Yeah.
You already. Yeah.
And in my head, I'm going, "Wait, does that mean I booked it? What am I?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool."
You're trying to get information,
like, I don't know,
but you don't really know.
I don't know. It's like I don't want to say, "Did I book it?" Because I just want to leave. You know, I don't want to look like a desperate actor. You know what I mean?
Leave a note.
Yeah.
Just leave like a tip.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Oh, cool. Here's your bottle of wine. So I leave, and then I get a call from my manager saying that I booked the part, which is very cool because it was an HBO movie and working with a bunch of really cool people, all Latino cast. One of Michael Peña's first leads. I think he had done Crash before that.
It was a huge movie.
Huge movie. Yeah, it wasn't a huge movie, but it was a really I think important movie of telling the story. It was an HBO movie. You know what I mean? So it was it's 10 years ago. No, it's 12 years ago. But anyway, I go. I tell this. I get on the phone with Judson Vaughn from Jennifer, and we talked for about 45 minutes. And he asked me, he's like, "Do you want to come to Atlanta to study acting, or you want to come here for this girl?" And she was beautiful, tall, like 5'10", blonde girl, beautiful, very charming. But I wasn't interested in her, and not in that way. She was really super nice. And I said, no, man, like I've never, like acting was never something I really thought I wanted to pursue, but I'd love to give it a go. He goes, great. Well, if you're really serious about it, come on down to Atlanta. And I was living in Lincoln, Nebraska at the time. And I think I was getting ready to go. In fact, I was getting ready to go teach cheerleading camps for the summer.
Okay.
Because I wanted to stay in shape for the next year. Which would have been super fun too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So right after I get off the phone with Judson, I pack up everything that I wouldn't need, like a mountain bike, TV, VCR, anything that wouldn't fit in the back of a car. It wasn't a necessity. You know what I mean? I needed a few changes of clothes, and just like the necessity.
Minimalist.
Yeah. I don't, whatever, a couple bags, and that's it. It's all I needed to take to Atlanta. I don't even think I had a computer. I don't even think I had a computer at the time.
No, this is
this is 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, this is in 2000. I was 21 years old at the time.
Little baby.
So I drove back. I drove back to Wyoming that night. I packed up everything I wouldn't need. Drove back to Wyoming that night.
Made the choice.
Like home. Right away. Like for me, it's like if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna go full at it. I'm a little better now at kind of doing a bunch of different things, but I'm still full at all of those things. Anyway, I get to Wyoming, to my parents' house, and like 2 or 3 in the morning, and my parents are kind of going, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing. School's out," and school had just gotten out. I just want to come home for a little bit, and they're like, okay. But they start to see me bring in stuff. So
you're dropping shit off.
I'm dropping shit off, like mountain bike, TV, VCR, like extra shit.
No.
And then they know I'm kind of like spontaneous.
They know something's going on.
Yeah, they know something's going on.
They're not dumb.
No, they're not dumb. And they probably wonder if I've been drinking or something, but
you're only 21, so probably not.
Yeah,
right?
probably. No.
It's not something that young adults do.
Which is I stopped drinking at 21, which is
so you
crazy.
We could get into that.
We'll get into that a little bit if we remember. So I'm talking to my parents about, we're just chatting, catching up at home, and this is when they were still together.
This is the middle of the night,
3:00 in the morning, and they're at this point they're still together. They're not together anymore. They say we're thinking about moving to Colorado to look for work and this and that. And I was like, well, speaking of moving,
surprise,
I'm going to move to Atlanta, Georgia in a week. And they go, really? Why? It's like, well, I don't know. I think I got an opportunity to try acting. I think I want to try it. And then my parents go, well, if you need any help, let us know. Which kind of tripped me out because my mom freaked out that I wanted to move 3.5 hours away to my first junior college.
But not freaking out that you're moving.
I know, yeah. So
across the country.
My mom later told me that she goes, I thought you'd be gone for like 3 months and come back and hate it. But she should have known better because I've been showing her pictures of like New York City and like big cities since I was like 5 years old. You know what I mean? You
were destined in your own mind for bigger than a small Nebraska town.
Yeah. Nebraska. Or Wyoming, Nebraska. It doesn't matter. I was in Nebraska. Nebraska, Lincoln was like 250,000, I think, at the time.
Okay.
Which is not small by any means, but it's not huge.
It's not a metro.
No.
Whatever. Not Gotham City.
Not Gotham City. So I stayed in Wyoming for about a week, drove back to Nebraska, picked up Jennifer, and drove straight through to Atlanta the next day. Get there, like Memorial Day weekend in 2000, which is like 17 years ago, almost a few weeks ago, and started acting classes that week. And like I think 4 or 5 months later, I had an opportunity to audition for a part in a movie that a bunch of my classmates were in that were leads of, and another guy just dropped out. And I went on set and had this really silly audition, and I got the part as the Mexican leaf blower.
We talked.
Yeah. So it's like my very first
typecast
stereotypical role.
Welcome to Hollywood.
But it was a fun role, and at the time I didn't really have super strong political beliefs about typecasting. Cause I didn't really know better.
Do you now?
I do now. Like I'm pretty picky about what I will and what I won't do, even though I don't really have the super luxury of being ultra picky. Because gotta pay bills.
Yeah, work is work.
Gotta pay bills. But I also, at the same time, I look at every job going, all right, will I feel good about myself after this is done and people are watching it? You know what I mean? And at this,
it's integrity.
Yeah, and at this point in my career, is like I want to be pretty picky about like the immigrant roles and the and like the gangster roles and like the stereotypical stuff, because we're more than just that, you know what I mean? But I went and did this role, and it was really fun. And from then on, I kind of started getting small work in Atlanta. Then at the end of 2003, I moved to LA, and then after about a year later. So for me, I always put in work.
Let me backtrack just a minute. At what point? Because I know you kind of skipped to the HBO special or HBO movie that you did, but you did something that kind of broke you out just a little bit. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. And it was a movie called Quinceanera.
Yeah.
And this is something that you actually won an award for.
Yeah.
For like Best New Actor.
Yeah.
I did my research.
Yeah.
And so, tell me a little bit, if you will, about the role, about how that came to be, and I guess the reception afterward for you from a personal point of view.
Well, okay. So about a year, so I had just gotten into LA, and I was always online submitting to whatever I could. Whatever I thought I was right for. Even I didn't even if I didn't think I was right for it and I liked it, I would submit myself for it.
I'm gonna try it for Thor.
Yeah, right.
I think I have the look.
It'd be Thor.
Thor.
Mm-hmm. ¿Quién es Thor?
And Hammer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Martillo.
Loki.
So I saw this casting notice online. And it was from a casting director who was casting it that I had met in Atlanta like two years prior to that.
While you were going through the school?
Right, well, yeah, in Atlanta. So I was just taking I was doing my classes in Atlanta, then I was taking different workshops and stuff like that, just meeting people. And I had kept in touch with him. Jason Wood was the casting director. And I hit him up and said, hey, man, if you guys haven't cast the lead in this movie, I would love to read for it. And I'm like, fuck it, why not? I might as well go for the lead. Like, well, I ain't got nothing to lose. And he goes, no, we haven't. So come on in and this date. And I went in and read for it. He goes, oh, man, it's really great. Come and meet with the directors on this day. So I went in and met with the directors and then ended up booking it. I was in 2005. I think we auditioned for it like in March. And we started shooting in April. And it was a super low budget movie for the time, non-union. So that means I only got paid, I think I got paid like $1,500 for that movie.
Okay.
And
but at this point, you're like, man, that's kind of something good. Or
well,
like,
at this point, it's like $1,500 is great. It's not a lot of money.
Sure.
And by the time taxes are taken out of it,
it's really nothing.
And there's another thing too, is like a lot of people don't realize, and I don't know if we talked about
we talked about it.
Did we talk about it?
Yeah. No. We you and I have talked about it.
All right. So
just let everybody know.
So a lot of people don't realize when they see actors and like, oh, they got a lot of money because they see them on TV, high profile, that actors, especially in the entertainment business, they often get up to 25, sometimes more than that % taken out of their check than more than other people do, right. Like the normal people,
civilian
or like
non-actors.
I feel like an asshole.
The peasants,
right? The peasants. Because there's like 10% to manager, 10% to agent, 5% to lawyer if you have one. So, and then plus the 35-40% that the state and government. Federal.
Well, like just from knowing you and knowing different type of artists and stuff, people even with the professional fighters, people even that work hard and have this high profile, they're still working. It's not like they're doing one thing and then they're set for life. Like, you're having to continue. It's cool because you can do it in your craft and the thing that you're really good at, and that's the lucky part. Right. But it's a lot of work still, and it's ongoing. Yeah, you're always trying to get something else.
Well, like in an entertainment business, like even a lot of the crew, it's a freelance work. You know what I mean? Once one job is done, you're trying to find that next job.
Right.
And it's like for crew, especially if they're good and they have relationships, they're able to tell each other about the jobs and like get on one onto the next one, and hopefully they keep going. It's a little different for actors. There's constantly auditioning and producing your own stuff, which is what I do as well. But that movie, I only got paid a little bit, but it also gave me my career, so I wasn't really mad about it. You know what I mean? It gave me experience too, so it was a big learning experience.
And the role you said you were a teenage.
Yeah, so the movie is about a quinceanera, and a quinceanera is a 15th birthday for a Latina. And I play this gay kid in Echo Park who gets kicked out of his house because his dad disowns him because he finds out that he's gay. It's kind of a really conservative family. And then the girl who played by Emily Rios, she plays my cousin, and she gets kicked out of the house because she gets pregnant miraculously right before her quinceañera, and she gets and her dad's the pastor, so she's like in some shit, and so we both living with our great uncle, kind of make this makeshift family. It's a bit of a coming of age and of all three of us, even though he's like 70 something. Mm-hmm. So it's a really sweet movie. It's like 12 years old, but I think it really holds up, and it was a big door opener for me and a lot of the other people who worked on the movie, and like a lot of the crew and the directors were working on a lot of really cool movies.
Being that it's a unconventional role, especially with the sexuality preference. What was the perceptions that you got from some people? Well, I know that we got that there was an award, and that showcases your acting skills. But besides that, not everybody's always comfortable with the other side of it. So, what was that like for people to receive that?
I never caught any shit for it. No one ever badmouthed me. I think, in fact, the response I got was really positive from a lot of people. And this is pre-Facebook time for me. So I was still in MySpace. And I
remember that.
Remember that? 12 years ago. I would get, and okay, so when you're doing a movie like this, and I didn't really realize, when I first got into acting, on my drive down to Atlanta, Georgia, in my head, I'm thinking, it's like, all right, cool, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to make it work. And in my head, I'm thinking, all right, of course, it'd be fun to do a lot of movies and maybe be famous and hopefully make a lot of money, and just have fun with it. But I also, and this is even before I kind of really got political about it and kind of really, really understood what it meant to be in the business and kind of committing to it. is that I wanted to be able to get to a point in my career where I could open doors for other artists, not just Latino, but especially Latino, but like other people who, actors, directors, producers, crew, any kind of artist.
It was always on you too.
It was for me, like I wanted to be able to help other people. You know what I mean? Like build a big happy family, and
network, if you will,
network and community. And that was one of my goals. And what was I talking about before this?
We were talking about the role and how you didn't catch any shit for.
All right, so yeah, and I didn't really realize when we heard the movie was going to Sundance, and I was going to have to do a bunch of interviews, that when you do a movie like that, especially this with socially relevant issues, that not only you have a social responsibility that goes with this kind of a movie. You know what I mean? So I'm playing this young gay Latino kid from Echo Park, and with the stigma behind the machismo and the homosexuality, that the stigma comes with it, and just being a part of that and being within that community, and having your own opinion about it. So I didn't really realize I was going to have a social responsibility, and
did that become apparent very quickly?
It became apparent very quickly, and then quickly I learned how to approach it and what my viewpoints were, and I'm friends with everybody, and I've always been friends with everybody, and have no problems with anybody as long as they don't hurt me or my family or any of my friends. Everyone gets a chance. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. The benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. So I didn't catch any shit, but I would get fan mail from various people, especially young, not necessarily young, but from gay men. I remember a couple of my most memorable ones was this young kid saying, I've been going through a hard time in my life. I'm gay, and basically he was like, came to the point was like, I didn't know how long I was gonna make it, and I was gonna he didn't say it, but he was basically saying he was gonna commit suicide. And then he goes, then I watched Quinceanera, and I realized that I'm out there.
You're inspiring,
I'm not alone.
Whether you know it or not.
I'm not alone. Yeah. You know what I mean? So as I realized more and more as the whole process went along, is that I was able to have a voice for those who didn't really feel like they had one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like I was able to do an interview like this and on camera and talk about what I felt was right, and
just
like
by being honest. And
sure. And when that happens, is that other people who think they're alone, like, what does it matter? There's all kinds of issues.
Sure.
But if someone else talks about those issues, and I'm straight, and it doesn't really matter, but I'm straight, and
you could go like the method actor,
yeah,
and be like extra Mexican, and then it's just
Quinceanera too.
Derrick Garza,
yeah,
Jesse Garcia,
the method.
We're not making that happen right now.
No, we're not. But he said, like, he was just saying, like, this movie kind of basically saved me. After I saw this movie, that I realized that I'm not alone, and there's others out there like me. And I've had guys email me and say, like, hey man, no one knows, but I'm gay, and how do I come out to my family? I'm like, oh man,
I don't know. I'm not gay.
I don't know, man. Like,
I was acting.
Find somebody that's like unbiased and kind of like have basically a counseling session.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
do it over Skype.
Stupid.
If you're gonna tell anybody you're unsure, just do it. Just do it on there. Here's a video.
So I got some really heavy, super heavy emails and fan letters, but I got some really positive ones too. Like you really don't know. Like, the arts are very important.
They really touch people. I mean, music. There's artists and there's actors and musicians that pretty much have shaped the way that I approach things.
Mm-hmm.
And they've never met me. I've never met them before. But just, I feel like when you're honest and putting yourself something out there, and you've made something amazing or beautiful or astounding. Some of the things they put out, just how do they do that?
Yeah.
It touches people. So you never know how and in what way you're gonna reach somebody. It could be something as insignificant as just kind of a sentence here or there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the arts are definitely something that's...
for me, I call that planting a seed. When I'm having a conversation with somebody, whether it's like subliminal life coaching or whatever it is, and if I say something, it's like I'm not telling you what to do, but this is my thoughts on it.
Sure.
And, eventually, maybe this seed takes root and starts germinating and turns into something else and takes you wherever it needs to go. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to like just plant seeds.
And so you now are like starting to get roles, and you're starting to do whether it's movies, whether it's shows. Like you did some shows such as Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
You were on the first Avengers, and you were what's that like, man, to like go to like these, that's a Marvel movie, that's a huge movie.
Yeah.
What's that like to go to like those type of premieres? And
well, I didn't get invited to the premiere, which is
sorry
it's okay, man.
I'm still bitter about it. Marvel.
I was at home blowing leaves.
You're right.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, practicing for my next role. Okay. I was really bummed I didn't get to go to that. But it is what it is.
It is, yeah.
Oh,
hear that?
Can you hear that? Yeah.
Oh,
it's Marvel. They heard me talking about it. They're coming.
Well, this hasn't even hit the airwaves. How are they doing this? We know. We fucking have
everything.
Ultrons listening.
It was cool, man. So like when I first got the movie, it was one of those auditions where like I went in there and every different way that they had me read the role, like I felt like I killed it. And like one of those things too is like you leave the room like I couldn't have done anything more. Like either they like me or they don't. Right. But when I got there, we shot in Albuquerque, New Mexico for the scenes that I was in. It was in this huge studio, and they had the whole helicarrier in there, so the whole interior of the helicarrier. And it was just amazing. You look around, you start walking around. I was like, "Holy shit! This
is the thing.
This is it!" And you could just see money dripping off the walls because it was legit. And they had a really long crane that moved around and caught me and the other actors and the other chairs and
Marvel
like monitors work.
Marvel brings it.
Yeah, they bring it. And it was also really cool to be on set at the same time as like Samuel Jackson and Scarlett Johansson and I think Mark Ruffalo was on set.
Did you meet the Hulk?
Mark Ruffalo, yeah.
No,
the
actual
Hulk.
Yeah.
No. I think
childhood hero of mine.
I think he was pretty happy that day.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, nothing. And one of the coolest things that happened for me during the shooting of Avengers is like I'm a huge Robert Downey Jr. fan. And I was sitting in so the trailers, the makeup trailers, I was sitting on one far end, and where the end where the hitch is for the trailer hitch for the trailer, there's one step up, and that was Robert Downey Jr.'s private makeup area. So he would walk in that door closest over there and usually just go straight up or whatever he does.
Sure.
I was way at the other end getting my makeup done by David No, I think. And Robert Downey Jr. walks in, and him and I are in the middle of a conversation. I look over and see this Robert Downey Jr. He's like, "Oh, good morning." I've never met him before, and I gave him a nod, "Good morning," and he gave me a nod back, but he kind of cocked his head at me. I'm like, I was like, I don't know, I'm not gonna stare at him because
don't look at the Downey.
Yeah. So I'm going back talking, and I hear footsteps coming my way, and I look over. And I see Robert Downey Jr. walking to me. He's like, "Hey, man, how are you?" I go, "What's your name?" He's like, "Oh, man, my name's Jesse." He goes, "Oh, I'm Robert." It's like, "Oh, man, very cool to meet you." He goes, "Very awesome. Like, welcome to the show." Like,
That's really cool.
Great to have you. And I'm like, fuck, he just walked all the way down. For me, like, it's walking all the way down to the end of the trailer. Like, it's Robert Downey Jr. He doesn't have to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, it solidified how cool of a guy he is and how much I admire him as an artist and kind of as a human being.
Yeah, because essentially, I mean, at the end of the day, higher profile actor.
Oh, he's a megastar.
But also, it's like just human beings doing their thing.
Yeah. Well, and if you follow him on social media or any of his stories, he's just a legit dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one of my funnest and cool moments of shooting that. Besides being on set and just being kind of all this whole Marvel world.
So we move a little bit forward, and at one point, you are now in a starring role. One of the roles later on for TV's From Dusk Till Dawn, and that's based loosely, or it's a different version of the movie by Quentin Tarantino, correct?
And Robert Rodriguez. Yeah, so it's Robert calls it a reimagining of the movie. It's not a remake or a reboot per se. It's a reimagining. So he says it's like if the movie is the if the movie is a short story, then the series is like the series of novels. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like we got to go in depth of what he wanted to go into, like which you couldn't go in. You only have an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we had 10 hours a season to really go in depth.
Dive into the story. And you guys did 3 seasons, correct?
3 seasons, yeah.
And there may be another.
I mean, if they decide to
renew it or whatever.
Finish out the story, which if everyone wants, but everyone's kind of got jobs now, so it'd be kind of it'd be cool, but it'd be kind of a miraculous to get everyone back together.
Cool.
I mean, he still wants to do it. From what he told us, he still wants to do like some sort of even if it's like a mini, like 3 movie miniseries or something to finish out the story.
Complete the arc.
Yeah, which would be great, man. There's still kind of, I think everyone wants to see the story end at least. What do we do? We had fun. I had a lot of fun on it.
Can you tell me a little bit about how that process came to be? Like, that's it was a very, very it's well known, and there's a lot of people that follow From Dusk Till Dawn. That in itself is a cult classic. It was George Clooney and
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, and Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool actors in it. For me, it was just an audition process. I got the first audition in September-ish. Just like I remember it was the same day as the Alma Awards that year. They don't have them anymore. Went and auditioned for Robert, which was cool already.
Robert Rodriguez. El Rey.
Went and auditioned with him, and he gave me direction a couple different ways. And of course, I walk in there, fucking black everything, and a cowboy hat, and
you're ready for it.
Ready for it. I'm going to dress the part, and we had a bunch of fun with the audition, and I didn't hear anything from her after that. It's like, I figured they probably cast it. I was a little bummed, but wasn't really tripping on it. A month later, I get a call from my manager. It's like, hey, there's a call back From Dusk Till Dawn. I'm like, what? The same show? And she goes, yeah. It's like the same role, or is it a different role? She goes, no, it's the same role. I'm like, oh shit, all right, cool.
And this was one of the leads.
Yeah, it's one of the leads. And this was a Thursday evening, so and there was a bunch of Halloween parties that night, because it was Halloween weekend. And there was 7 pages of dialogue, 8 pages of dialogue. So it was a bunch of new stuff as well. But I'm like, I'm gonna go to these parties too. So I went to the parties. I danced. Priorities. I know priorities. I went to the parties, danced for 30 minutes, go out in the hallway, study, or there in the alley, and study for 30 minutes. So I was going back and forth. So I was still studying, but I was like still having fun at the same time. I get to my audition.
Balance. All about balance.
I get to my audition at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was right around time for my audition, and there was like 20 guys there, and everyone's kind of all like some are dressed in cowboy outfit, and I still had my cowboy shit on, all in black, because everyone, like Robert Rodriguez's shows about renegades. Went in and auditioned for it, and I thought I did the best I could. Went home and thought, I'm gonna take the casting director some candies and a bottle of wine, because I still had it was my last weekend of yoga teacher training.
Do we talk about that?
Kind of. I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff. Well, anyway, I'm a certified yoga instructor now too.
Certified. Namaste, bitches.
So I had something to do that night. So luckily my brain isn't chewing on like what could I have done better, and you know what I mean. So it was a big audition, and I'm a real big fan of Robert Rodriguez. So I'm on my way to take her the candies and a bottle of wine. And I get a call from my manager. It's like, hey, Robert Rodriguez wants to do a Skype session with you in 30 minutes. Can you do it? It's like, yeah, I'm heading to the casting director's office right now. I'll do it over there. I was in the middle of traffic. I could have gone back home. So I read with Robert for about 20 or 30 minutes, which is a long time. And it was just me and him on Skype. It was just like him reading the other lines to me.
And that was somebody that you had kind of known about, like,
yeah,
one of the people that you looked up to.
Sure. Yeah. He's a filmmaking pioneer. You know what I mean? Like he started out with, a lot of short films, like, which are all very cool. But like El Mariachi shot for like
Spy Kids.
Yeah. Well, El Mariachi, he shot for $7,000. You know what I mean? He shot for $7,000 and shoestring budget. And the way he edited it, you have to read the book, Rebel Without a Crew. If you haven't read it, it's really
Rebel
cool.
Without a Crew.
Rebel Without a Crew. It's a really cool book, especially anybody who's a filmmaker. It should be like their first little Bible. You know what I mean? Like how he did it. Yeah. If he can make an award-winning feature film that shaped his career for $7,000, back then. You know what I mean? And the technology we have now,
Right.
all the programs you can get, and
It's all available.
It's all available.
It's all
you know
available to you. The information's out there.
Every information there, and the way he did it's really cool. Like you see all the tricks that he did, and reused frames of like he would get condoms and put gunpowder in them, and then light them and shoot them, like have it timed just right so that the gun flare would come out of the barrel of the gun. Barrel of the gun. He would reuse that frame like 3 or 4 times to make it look like a machine gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then add the sound effect in.
That's cool.
And it was like a really cool cheat. You know what I mean? It's like, oh fuck, I didn't even think about doing that. So I had a chance to read we read for like 20 or 30 minutes on Skype, and we talked about the show. And
at this point, had you met him?
Just once in, at the first audition. So I had met him once, but I did the Skype session afterwards. So I was done with that. I'm like, well, there's absolutely nothing else I could have done. I'm like, other than me being a completely different person, there's nothing else I could do.
You put it on the table.
Either they like me or they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to my yoga class. It was my last weekend, and I turned my phone off for like 4 hours from 6 o'clock until like 10 o'clock that night. And I go back to my phone, and I'm looking at it, the blank screen. I'm like, oh fuck, I had an audition today. Oh, what am I gonna do? So I push the home button, and I have a bunch of missed texts and missed calls. I'm like, oh, I'm typing in my class. It's like, and so I got a missed call from my manager. I look at it. She goes, where are you? I'm like, I'm in class. I'm in class. And I go through my emails, and I, they check on my availability and my quote because I got the offer for the show, which is huge. You know what I mean? So
what was your feeling at that moment?
I was like, oh, fuck yeah. And at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, I got a fucking show. Which is really amazing at the time, because I had for the better part of almost 2 years, up until then, I was couch surfing. You know what I mean? My parents don't know this. This is probably the first time they're going to hear about it.
I can edit it out.
Whatever.
No, I'm not going to.
But I was couch surfing. I was depending on friends to help me out because I was really hurting for money at the time.
Sure.
And it was after the recession, and then just things just dried up for a little bit. You know what I mean? Even though I was working, I was still getting a couple jobs here and there. But
talent-based industries, man, sometimes are, when you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
But getting it.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing.
And I had to figure out different ways to make money. Like I was literally Airbnb-ing my apartment at the time to pay for my rent in the apartment, and still staying at a friend's house because I only had a few $100 left over every month. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was hustling, and I was trying to do it, and I eventually got back on my feet, and then I booked the show, and like it was just crazy, like because I had 6 months earlier I was couch surfing, and then I book a show, and then now like a year after that I bought a house, and
it's beautiful because like thinking about how you were having to be dependent on people's generosity, and now you're making appearances at like comic conventions, and people know you.
It's really weird.
People know you. I mean, like I said, you asked me to come on set. I was half joking when I was like, I'll be an extra. And you're like, hey, we'll show up at like 10 p.m. And I was like, oh, this is really going down. So, it was really cool. You have me to come on set, like I said, and, meet, I'm going to get his name right. Wilmer. Valderrama. Keith Jardine, of course, Zane Holtz. And just a bunch of those guys there, man. And it's really cool to see you do your thing, and just to be invited on a set where you're like, whoa, this is where fucking magic happens. Or you look at this series now like on Netflix, and people follow it like kind of rabidly.
Mm-hmm.
You got like legit hardcore fans, man. So to go from somebody who's hanging out on somebody's couch to like, man, you're the
that's even that I had like a really big hit movie at one point. You know what I mean? Like, and at one point, I was like, there's another movie that I did with Wilmer called Days of Wrath that never really came out. The trailer's on YouTube. But it was a cool gangster flick, and it just never came out. That should have been the one that kind of broke me a little bit more for a commercial level. And should have been the one that got Wilmer out of kind of like the Fez the stigma, that he was the veil that was covering him at the time. He's he'll always be somewhat. That's this huge breakout for him, but he's such a talented actor and
a really nice guy too.
Super nice guy.
Super nice guy.
One of the sweetest guys.
like, you know, I had just kind of met you also. Like, I ended up watching UFC at your house. And, like, I walk in and I'm like just a normal dude who teaches jiu-jitsu, teaches martial arts, and I walk in and there's a bunch of like high profile actors kind of sitting around yelling at the TV, and I'm like, oh, this is just like normal shit we normally do. You know what I mean? I do this with my friends all the time. So it was cool, man. And
did you find it kind of hard not to watch the actors work while you were in the scene?
I think my thought process, first off, for this idea here, I always try to do creative things, you know, but the thing that I had never done before is they're asking you to pantomime. So I was like, just kind of moving my mouth. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Cause you know, they're like specifically don't say anything, but just move your mouth like you're saying something. So you really have to kind of look, and then you're just making dumb faces at each other. Like, And so I had a date on we were sat in a booth, and she's like, oh, I have this gig or blah, blah, blah. So she's like an actress. And I'm a dude who's just kind of like got lucky to be invited to a set, and then kind of just like, okay, I'm just going to go with it. So it was interesting, man. Like I really, it gave me a different appreciation of the craft, you know, approaching it from an art point of view. Cause you know, I have things that I do, and I always try to find the process and the method, which is most effective. But to see that you guys were like, okay, cut, go do it again, cut, do it again.
And that was a huge day because it was like, it was one of the last days of the season, and there was a huge fights everywhere.
I think it was episode 10.
Oh, so it was the last. It was the last one. It was the season finale for second season. Yeah.
And so you can find me. No, you can't find me. I got cut.
Did you get cut?
Yeah. So whatever, man. It was cool to be on. But
Fernando was in that one. That one
he
too.
was. It was. I think, but different. He asked to come on that.
Oh, it was a different day. It was a different day.
Yes.
It was a different day.
And so, very cool, man. I really appreciate that.
That was cool. Like I always get a kick out of having my friends that are not in the industry come in and hang out on set or be in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was super cool, man. I was just like, be back here. You guys get lunch. There's like a trailer outside that's gonna feed you guys.
Yeah.
I'm like in
legit.
This thing. You know?
And you got paid too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good. Yeah. It was really cool. There was a couple of things I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
And through your career, I know we talked about Edward James Olmos. I know we talked about Michael Pena. We talked about Robert Rodriguez. What was the point, or was there a particular moment where you were like starstruck? I know you told me about a show that you were on.
Oh yeah. So it was a really cool moment. For me, it was more of a cool moment. I don't know if I've been starstruck yet. But I did the Pee Wee Herman show. It was a live production of the Pee Wee Herman show. The first run was in LA, and
this is after he has been
this is like 2009, I think. This is 2009. It was 2009. It's like 8 years ago.
But he was big, and then he kind of low keyed for a while, and then he came back and was like, "Well, they shot two."
Well, he was like the funny thing is he was really hesitant about doing the show because he didn't know if the fans were going to want to see him, and it was they just went fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean they shot a couple years ago. I think there's a Netflix produced movie.
So I was doing one of my first kind of. I did one scene prior to that, was my big dancing scene. Was my introduction scene to the show. I had to do this big dancing thing, and I'm not really a dancer, so I was super insecure about it. And
it's all on the hips.
All on the hips.
It's all on the hips.
And that whole audition process was funny too. But we were doing the second scene. It was just me and him on stage, and if you remember, if you ever watch it, it's the balloon bit, and we're doing the dialogue. And right before we were gonna do rehearsals, I'm like, oh, is he gonna do the voice, or is he just gonna do it as Paul? I was like, how are we gonna do it? But he did the voice. I'm like, oh fuck,
he's Pee Wee Herman.
He's Pee Wee Herman right now.
I'm writing. Yeah. And did you watch? I mean, coming up, of course, he was mega famous. Yeah. You know, so
but if you think about it, like he's one of the only huge icons. If you think about icons, like Michael Jackson, even Madonna, who else? Like Andy Warhol. You know what I mean? There's certain icons.
Sure.
And there's Pee Wee Herman. There's not very many icons like that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know. Don't know
some
Paul Rubens,
right?
Well,
I mean, some megastars. Like
his character transcended the actual person.
Yeah. So I'm doing the scene with him, and I'm doing my dialogue, and we're going back and forth.
So you're looking at the dude right now.
I'm looking at him like we're closer than this, and we're doing the dialogue. And as I'm speaking my dialogue, I'm looking at him and I'm going, holy shit, I'm doing a scene with Pee Wee Herman right now. This is fucking awesome. And I'd gotten to work with a lot of cool people, but it was like me and Pee Wee Herman is fucking great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like meeting Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah.
And so the other end of that question, and I know I asked this before, and obviously it's just kind of like just for contrast, for balance, if you will. Has there ever been any weirdness or whatever with actors? I mean, anything where you was like, kind of turned off about it?
No, I mean, I guess I've come across some actors who have a little bit of an ego, and whether that they've been on the job for a really long time or have some ownership of that. I mean, nothing that's ever, like, as long as I go in there and I do my job and not making anybody look bad.
Sure.
And I just do my own thing, you know what I mean? I don't really think I've had a moment like that. I mean, there's a couple of actors I thought were super unprofessional, but
you got to tell them to cash you outside.
Cash you outside.
Let you know about that wrestling.
But no, I don't think so. I mean, not yet. I mean, that'll probably happen. I'm still pretty. Even I've been at it for 17 years. Vet. I'll say veteran. Like, I'm a vet around 20 years.
Veteran.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you're almost there.
Yeah, I'm almost
there.
You're
still working.
And I feel like I'm still young in the game. You know what I mean?
So, at any point, did you consider, or have you ever considered stopping acting, stopping the grind of it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, there's been several times I've been super, super broke. And it's just hard. Like, even if I book a job here and there, you know, by the time you get 65% of your check taken out, and
life is going every day.
Yeah. And you're still having to worry about money. And, you know, it's just hard, because it's like when you're doing it and you're actually enjoying the job, it's like nothing beats it. You know what I mean? And if you're getting paid well for it, that's awesome too. But it's just something I really love, and now I'm being able to do other things like produce, and I want to direct some more. I did a short film I directed, and I really enjoyed that process. I've definitely considered it, and I've seriously considered it. Like, why am I doing this? I'm putting myself through this torture. But, you know, I kept like doing self-therapy. It's like, what else do I want to do? It's like, well, I can do this and this and this. I'm like, well, but will that make me happy? And, you know, part of that will make me a part of me happy, but what's really going to make me happy is doing, you know, like being a part of the industry and directing and producing and being really creative, because I feel like I'm good at it. You know what I mean? Like, I have my moments where, like, I feel like I suck, but I think for the most part I'm okay at it.
That's kind of normal with creative people. Like, a lot of them with healthy egos,
right?
Not overly healthy, but just like good self-awareness. Mm-hmm. They're gonna be their own their hardest critic,
right?
You know, so that's not unheard of for you to be like, fuck, I suck, you know.
Yeah.
And that pretty much, that's the cool thing about, I think, people that create, is if you start to know other people, like, they have a lot of times like a friendship or a bond, because, man, you go through the same thing,
right?
You know, and it's always nice to see somebody else who's honing their craft, and sometimes can question, like, what am I doing this for? You know, because, you know, I've been doing jiu-jitsu, man, for such a long time, and I really try to approach it as art. But there's definitely been times where I get up in the morning and I'm so just beat up, you know, and I'm like, why am I doing this? You know, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. It's like, I love doing this thing that allows me to be creative, allows me to be healthy, it helps my network grow. It keeps my mind young, but definitely, man, because it's so hard, and it is definitely hard. It's a grind.
Yeah.
To show up every day.
It's hard on your body too. It's hard on your mind.
It's great for your mind, but it's also sometimes very difficult. And so I can understand and relate to the whole quitting idea. A couple of things, man. If going from that question, if you had to give advice to anybody who was getting into anything creative or acting, what would your advice be?
Well, let's say, I mean, whatever it is, you have to really want it more than anybody else. You know what I mean? For me, I'll just say acting. You have to want the job more than anybody else. You're reading for something, you have to be willing to put in all the homework, and whether it's researching the role or reading the script or putting in the hours before to study. And I've been guilty about being lazy, but I've also been really good about putting in the work. And when you really put in the work, it really shows. And like, even if you don't get the part, you're like, fuck, man, I really killed it. That's what I need to be doing every time. And then the feedback's like, you get back from other people is like, so if I kill an audition or do something good, it's like, oh, he wasn't right for this, but man, he really killed it on this other thing. And either they'll show someone else that tape or they'll bring you in for a different role, and like either you get that or you don't, but the process continues. You know what I mean? But I would also say, if you want to get into the film industry, entertainment industry, I would produce my own work. With technology we have, cameras being fairly affordable, you can shoot whatever you want on your phone.
We're doing that right now.
Yeah,
Literally,
you have a tiny little, looks like an ice cube.
Yeah.
And it's a fairly low startup. I mean, like you can even do it with less than what you have right now. You know what I mean? You have really nice equipment, so you can do it with less than this. And then even then, I always tell people too, there's other people out there that want to do the exact same thing you do. So even if you split costs and partner up with somebody,
so you just got to be loud sometimes. You
man.
You got to cast the.
Like if you don't say you need help or how you want,
shine the beacon.
Yeah, no one's gonna know. You know what I mean? The worst thing that someone else can say is like, no. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I can't help you, or no, I'm not available, or no is like the worst thing they can do.
Just kind of like a piggyback off that for just a second. I read a book called The War of Art, and it was cool because one of the things that really stood out about that book is the idea of being a professional and everything you do. So, I've kind of done a lot of different ideas, but I'm always trying to self-produce things. But one of the things that I got from that is, wake up, get dressed, even if you're like home doing stuff at home, get dressed like you're going to be a professional, dress your part. So that found me like a lot of times early in the morning, getting dressed, starting to type, write. I tried to write a book, but that had me every day, just kind of working at it. And then the same thing with, with teaching and stuff, just showing up and being a professional, not just being lazy, never phoning it in.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important to have the mindset that no matter what, you're going to give and you're going to put out 100%. There's no less. You're not going to accept it for yourself. Other people can do it, and that's cool, but for yourself.
But when other people see you doing that, it's like, fuck, well.
It inspires.
Yeah, man.
It inspires. And, that praise that you get back slingshots you, and it just keeps you going with that forward momentum.
And if you don't put up with like mediocrity, then everyone will kind of, oh, okay, cool. Derrick's
rise to the
Derrick's
occasion.
not going to accept that. You know what I mean? So
it helps everybody.
Yeah, man.
It helps everybody. Lastly, any future plans, aspirations, all that good stuff?
Well, yeah, man. I have we're in post production for a feature film that I'm producing, and I was one of the lead actors in that we shot last July 2016 in San Francisco. Post production, meaning if you're not in the industry, this like, so you shoot the movie, and after that is post. You know what I mean? So like there's editing and color correction and like sound design and all that stuff to make it look pretty and sound good, and so when you see it, that's what it looks like. So we're at hopefully the tail end of that, so that we can submit it to Sundance here pretty soon. And then I still want to direct, and I'm writing some things right now, and I want to direct some more stuff, and I want to get into TV directing, and definitely want to shoot my own movies. I'm constantly shooting stuff and like practicing editing my own little stories. Just being creative and trying not to. I've been blessed been able to buy a house, but it's also taken up a lot of my time. And well, that's been another creative endeavor for me too, is like designing my house on the inside and doing a lot of the work myself. I mean, you've been over, you've seen like some of the stuff I've done. Very
much your spin on things,
Yeah.
And like you were talking about doing those tricks that make things appear a certain way.
Yeah.
You've definitely like, okay, I took this, I was creative, I sanded it down, I put it this.
Yeah.
It's very cool to see.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
But now it's time for me like to go back to where, I want to be back into the acting and producing and doing stuff like that, so that I can have a career still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like I just producing and writing. My buddy and I wrote a really funny pilot that we're gonna start pitching around and
holla at your boy. All right.
Yeah, there's always stuff.
Very cool, man. Anybody would like to say what's up to and the old video land?
Okay. Say
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
How can people find you?
Oh, Instagram, Jesse John Garcia.
Jesse John Garcia.
Jesse John Garcia.
Twitter. Jesse to the G.
Jesse to the G. Number 2.
Is it number 2?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesse
to the G. Yeah.
All right.
Because I couldn't I've tried so many different handles.
You can't get that certified. The check.
I probably.
You should.
I think it is. Isn't it not? Is it not?
I know the Instagram one is.
I'm pretty sure that Twitter is too. But I couldn't get a good handle. Everyone, Jesse J Garcia and Jesse John Garcia, already taken.
You can change it, right?
I can still change it. Because I rarely use it, so I doubt anyone ever tweets me.
People tweet these days. Our president is all over the place with it.
We won't even go there. Kafafi.
All right, so that's going to be it, I think. Okay.
Cool, man.
I just want to say, number one, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. I've learned, like I said yesterday, like 2 more things about you that I didn't know, which is super cool, but they didn't know. Now they know. Now you know.
So it's like 3 or 4 at this point.
4.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you guys, if you would, please, to follow us. Subscribe on YouTube, iTunes. Leave me reviews and comments and all that good stuff. Give me some feedback. If you want to see somebody, if you want to hear a certain story or whatever, I've heard that I need to finish a couple of stories. Probably do that. Find us YouTube and iTunes. Also, thelightofdarkness.com. I'm DG the Darkness.
And Instagram? Got an Instagram?
Yes, I have an Instagram. That's going to be the Light of Darkness podcast. There's no spaces. Doesn't allow
in the light?
Nope. The Light of Darkness. The Light of Darkness podcast. But you can find all those links on thelightofdarkness.com.
Okay.
So, do it. Google's also your friend. So if you can't find it, you can find it. I believe in you.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
And we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining in. We'll see you guys back here in a couple of weeks. I got some cool stuff coming up. Look for him. Look for me. Love you guys.
Come roll with us.
Bye.
Beat me up.